Okay, we're back to Vyzygoth Raw and Live, and our guest is William Ramsey. Of course, you've heard this numerous times, but still let it be known that his opus work is Prophet of Evil, Aleister Crowley 9/11, and the New World Order. And he's a favorite for a bunch of us, to include Randy Morgans and Gordon Comstock. And we were happy that he came on to kick off the beginning of whatever this is, the 10th year of the many manifestations that we know as the grassy knoll. But at any rate, I just want to share something with folks real quick. I don't know, just as an icebreaker, something to consider, because as much as William and I are talking about life, and you still have to live it, you know what I mean? No matter what's going on out there now, how nuts it is, how bad it was perhaps in the ghettos in Warsaw, and we could only, yes. You got to go on every day. There's got to be something you can extract from the day as something worth living for, because you're not going this way again. And, I mean, excuse me for this. I just think it's just one of these things I have to share with you. Excuse me. I listen to WCBS 880 AM out of New York on the stream. It's all news radio. And I heard this very early this morning because I couldn't sleep, like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I just want to share this with you. This is like one of these things like, here's the bad news, here's the good news. Okay? It says, SUV falls from upper level of FDR Drive. Slams into cab below. Let me just sum this up. An SUV with 7 people, 8 people, was on an elevated section at 3 a.m. in the morning on the FDR at a point where it goes up around 23rd, and I know this area well. Now, what happens is somebody's out there attending to a car off on the side, and here's this noise. This SUV comes toppling over from the elevated roadway at least 15 feet to the roadway below, lands upside down, but on a cab who had no fare. Here's the story. This is not good that you would flip off an elevated roadway with however many people in an SUV. If you hit the pavement, you're probably all dead. Forget your seatbelts. Well, this hit the passenger side of a cab and broke the fall so that the SUV rolled off the cab and righted itself on its wheels. The cabbie had no fare. You get where I'm going with this?
No.
Well, my point is, here's the bad news. Oh, this SUV is going over with all 7 of us, and it's not going to be good. The good news is we hit a cab, roof to roof, and we don't get the real bad blunt trauma. We flip over and land upright on the wheels. And the bonus is the cabbie had no fare.
Well, that's good news, I guess.
But when I hear this stuff, I'm like, I mean, what are the odds that could have all happened in that way? Anyway, nobody's died yet, and everybody can walk away. My point, I guess, in saying this is that life is very random. Crazy things happen, and some people walk away, and some people don't. So, at any rate, forgive me for you. Huh?
No, you're right.
I mean, I'm just looking at this because I know the area. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. An empty cab, and the cabbie's like, yeah, it's all right. And no, he didn't say $1.49. No, he didn't do that. So anyway, here we are. We're back into what we're going to get into, the nitty gritty. And obviously, folks, if people were more aware of this, we would ask this of the Christian community. That doesn't work too well. With the rest of the world, how do you explain it? It's kind of like this thing where people understand it's evil, and they kick around Satan once in a while, but if you tell them it's institutionalized, and it's been with us for a long, long time, you're not going to get many people going, yeah, you're probably right. And herein lies the problem. And this is what I'm going to throw it to you. And by the way, folks, if you want to call in, you can do so from this point on. It's fair, 618-912-4681. 618-912-4681. It doesn't cost much. It ain't an 800 number, but you'll live with it. I'm going to throw it to you, William, and here's the point. Now, the second phase I got into is I realized that this is a very spiritual matter. You can't make much headway with heathens and those who don't believe in such because they keep thinking that the human spirit will elevate, and that's another whole story. But now I'm asking you. Now, you got into all this stuff, and when you actually entered the whole arena of 9/11 and how occult that was. I tell you what, for all of us, it's pretty sickening, but how did you progress?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it is sickening, but, I just wanted to get the word out. There were other people who saw different facets than I did, but I think that, I just wanted to let people to see that it was not just a cultural or political event, but a spiritual event, much like, Hitler. Hitler's Reichstag fire was a political event, but it was also him instituting a satanic, ideology and political structure. And that's what I see with 9/11 is the same kind of slave state mentality, us against them, total war, driving people into poverty, the neo-feudalism, and, so I see that 9/11 was a harbinger of those types of political changes that have taken place in this country and the world. So, I want people to see that there's a lot more beyond the material world that's taking place.
All right, now, but bring yourself back to the time, because I think this is necessary for people to believe, because there's a lot of people out there, too. I mean, we have also, and that's the reason I asked you about, you being okay with your wife and myself being okay with my wife, because you have people coming in here who are, like, coming in by themselves, and not that I'm being, by any, condescending, but I'm just saying, go so far, but you gotta let your spouse know what's going on, because I've seen disasters, and it shouldn't have been that way, but it was.
Right.
And this happens really, honestly, goodness, with the more intelligent, higher up people. It's almost like, what are you trying to do, dear? Destroy this whole thing? And I don't make it, I also don't want to make it a male entry type of thing. This happens on both sides.
Right.
That guys might write me more. Yeah, okay, but they're not the only ones. But so what I'm going to throw you back to, I mean, there was a point where, I'll tell you, there's a point when I said to the lady Biz, can you give me here a second? Come on in. Sit down and just listen to this. And then when it started, I don't know who it was, I don't know what audio file it was, but she had known, that I had misgivings because I did have eyes and ears, and I was a couple of places. I mean, I was in D.C. like yourself, and then there's other things
right.
that happened. And it's like, look, this is going to be a little upsetting, but it's the truth. How about you? I mean, again, not to hammer it home, but was there a point where you said, damn?
Well, I think that, she had known my personality and that I was a reader and that I would consider, sources and confirm and look for proof and evidence. So,
right.
I think that it was more gradual, and I don't think I think that she would prefer if I never looked at anything, but it's bothered me, and, it's troubling. When you have a political system that's evil and gone sour, it's disturbing and it's bad, and especially when it has an effect upon what you want your country to be and your society to be, So I think that she, in one sense, would wish that it never happened, and I think in another sense, she sees that me raising other people's awareness is positive, and that people should take comfort in the fact that this is happening by design, that it isn't, some kind of, it's just happening. It's not just happening. These are concerted efforts to, create wars, to destroy the infrastructure and economy of the United States, and to, increase the burden upon the people, through taxation and the inflation of the dollar and manipulation. So it's, to see that in the big picture, and then see that the whole economy's always been manipulated, probably since the advent of fiat currency. And so, it's they shouldn't see it as like, people shouldn't be like, oh gosh, I'm such a failure, or, why is this happening? It's happening because people want it to happen at the top. There's an evil elite who are pulling the strings on it. And, I guess my point is that it's good to see it for what it is, instead of like, some obtuse Christian out there is going to say, oh, this is God's will, or, this economy's my fault, or,
yeah.
It's not. It's really not. It's because there's evil people at the top that, the religious leaders have failed to point out and rail against, So it's, you know, I mean, there's my book is just connecting a couple, 2 or 3 dots on a picture that has 20 more dots, and most of the people who've read it can connect the rest of the dots and understand, you know, what it points at. But you know,
you have a caller, but I want to say, William, one of the reasons why a bunch of us found favor with you is because you do have a well-developed brain, and you went at it in a certain manner that attracted us all because it was very, like I said, it wasn't crazy, it wasn't hysterical, it was facts. And even though it deals with an evil side that a lot of people don't want to admit, and we're going to go back to that later, because, you know, people are only going to go so far with evil, but not our politicians. No, sorry, that's not going to work. But anyway, let me just break for a second, and we have a caller. By all means, Jim, bring him on or her on. Hello?
Hey, Viz. Yeah, it's Gene from Brooklyn.
No, not you.
Yeah, me. The only one. What's up, buddy?
You're going to tell us. Go ahead, Gene.
Okay, I have a question for Bill. You know, I, like most of the people, you know, are around 911. You know, we're all hoodwinked by the fact that, you know, this is terrorism, this is this is that. And, you know, you fell for it in the beginning. But I always thought it was strange that I think within the month of the events happening, those attacks, is that President Bush comes on TV and he says, you know, we need a definitive amount of money for the creation of Department of Homeland Security. And I think it was like $47 billion or something like that was the you know, the monetary amount. But does that have a connection? Is there a connection between this Hitler type of government or this mentality? And
absolutely.
You know, that's the only thing that I saw that I thought maybe it was pre-planned, because I couldn't get over the fact, or couldn't come to grips with the fact that the government may have had something to do with it. But
I didn't. I didn't either. I didn't want to come to terms with the fact that the government did it either.
Yeah, no, I'm not qualifying you. I'm just trying to figure out. You know, yeah. You know.
Okay, I'm just saying that I don't like my conclusions either. I've rethought and thought my conclusions thousands of times, but I can't escape them. So, you know, you only come down to one, you know, conclusion, and that is an inside job. But I think that it was part of a structured plan. These guys had a blueprint that they instituted, and it was so quick and such a shock to people that they couldn't even see it coming. And it's probably the same thing about, like, Hitler. You know, nobody saw these abuses as they, you know, it was just one thing after the next. I think one of the writers about the Reichstag is that these things happened so fast and so quick that the people just acquiesced, and the United States people did too. You know, they just didn't have that sense.
Right. You know, like, you know, it could be, to me, it could be either, you know, they either planned it and, you know, had wanted to set this department up as a means of control, pre-planned, or they took advantage of a situation and did something that they wanted to do all along. You know, what does it seem to be like to you?
No.
You know, them taking advantage after the fact, or...
No. It's fully planned and intentional. It was planned before the event. They didn't take advantage. There's no way 19 people in Afghanistan could control the skies of the United States and create those events and drop Building 7. Okay?
I'm not. You know, I'm not.
The problem is that a lot of people. Yeah.
Gene, let him go. Let him in.
Well, I'm just saying that there's a lot of weak-minded people who cannot put together things, and I mean, that's not a nice thing to say, but they can't. They don't key in onto the most salient points of the event. The salient points are there were huge amounts of military things going on that day, and Building 7 dropped. Period. So you can get some people who can't key into those important facts to talk about mystery planes and radars and stuff like that from the sky, and frankly, they're just weak-minded. And it's sad, but the real reality is nobody from Afghanistan dropped Building 7 outside of this country. And that you have to deal with that fact.
Okay. I always came, you know, I always had a hard time dealing with that, you know, that aspect.
I have a hard time too.
Gene, let me let me
Go right
add
ahead.
the conversation. I'm sorry.
Mm.
At this time, when this happened, there was a listener who works for a PR firm in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
He had stated to me, now, the problem here is, and just understand this, what muddies the waters here is that he is a born-again Jew. I hate that term. You're either, you're Christian, whatever. All right, fine. But his problem is he wants the average to be responsible for 9/11 just because he's Jewish, and, of course, he doesn't have anything to do with Israel. He lives in Chicago. Anyway, but he told me, he said, and his information was good. He said that the Rand Corporation, now understand me here, the Rand Corporation, not your buddies, by the way, folks, were in that office, and they were bragging about how they had developed the Patriot Act like 5 to 10 years before. They were just waiting for the moment to happen, which of course they knew it would. My point is this: Congress can't get a freaking lunch order right, let alone whip that thing together, that Patriot Act, in, 10 working days? Are you
right,
serious?
It was real quick. It was very, very fast after the event.
The thing is that those bills, there are tons of bills that are awful, draconian, that sit there and wait. They're already pre-drafted.
They're done. Yep.
They've been worked on, massaged. They've been rewritten.
The healthcare bill could be one.
There are new names, and they're waiting for the right moment to put those in. And people who are experienced in Washington politics know how to get a bill through that they want through. They wait for that right event, whether it's random or structured, and then say, it's time to put this bill through, whether it's good or not. So it's not a random occurrence. The events, they knew they were going to put the Patriot Act in, and the Patriot Act is this nice Orwellian phrase that sounds good to the majority of the people. They want to believe it's good for them, and it's draconian. It's not good.
Well, I was always opposed to it on instinct. Who knows what's in these bills? I mean, they're so big and so huge, and you don't know what's in them. You know what I mean? But on instinct, just saying the Department of Homeland Security, doesn't that have any doesn't that resonate with anybody? Doesn't that sound like it's right out of 1942 Germany?
Yeah, exactly. And there's already, here's the thing, is that there's already enough intelligence, military institutions and things overseeing everything that why would you need another level of security? I mean, we already have things in place to allay, terrorism. I mean, it's only there for the American people, period.
Let me share something with both you guys, and I don't need to pop off, but there was something I did. I found, when I was working at St. Leo's Library, we got these donations from history professors. We got like 3 of them. What I saw called out, I jumped on, like you can imagine me. One of them was, a transcript of a 2-day conference at, let me think now, it was Harvard in 1955. And one of the speakers was a leading Republican from New York State by the name of James Lord O'Brien. And he gave a speech, and it would knock your socks off. I've done a show about this. I've done another show about this, and I'll put this audio back up again. That gentleman understood exactly what was going on, and he warned everybody about giving up your supposed liberties for the promise of security. Oh, man, is that right? Now, here's another thing. There was something that was passed called the McCarran Act, also known as the Internal Security Act, around, I'm thinking 1954. That sucker was worse than the Patriot Act because it was so vague. You could bring anybody else you wanted to, but remember what was going on at that time. We weren't worried about Islamic boogeymen then. We were worried about the cursed Red Menace, and that's what they were going at. Thank God. Look, you know what happened with Hollywood and that whole witch hunt thing, and it happened in other industries as well. But thank God that Internal Security Act didn't actually get enacted because it was nastier than the Patriot Act. The reason I'm bringing this up is that this country and that blessed gentleman, O'Brien, knew what was going on. He knew where government was tilting toward because they were moved by something else. And what was going on was the constriction of all freedoms. It comes down to what Louis Brandeis said, who was also no favorite of ours. He said the most sacred right in America is the right to be left alone. Now you figure out whether that's happening or not, and I'm out.
No.
No, I mean,
yeah.
They've been at this for a while. They've been at it for 50 freaking years, since World War II, and now they're really drawing the noose close to us, and these idiots that we live with are like, oh, do whatever you have to do. Yeah, okay, do whatever you have to do. Sorry. Gino, you still there?
Yeah, I am. As a matter of, I referred to you, you referred to the McCarran Act, but I read an autobiography of Harry Truman where he states that he passed the National Security Act in 1947. And
yeah, we went through that, yeah.
Right. I'm surprised you didn't hear of that, because he called it he eventually called it the biggest mistake of his presidency. And
yeah, but those guys can say whatever they want after the fact. You know, you already did it to us, man. You know, it's like, yeah, sorry doesn't cut it. But that's when he made. Now we talked about that, or we emailed about that. That's when he did what? He changed something over. Was it the CIA?
Right. In other words, the OSS became the CIA. The NSA was created, and as a matter of fact, from what I remember, I read it quite some time ago, is that presidents can't even read what's in that act.
Nobody can.
You know what I mean? And it says it tramples the Constitution. I forget where else I read it. It might have been referred to maybe in a book called The Secret Team, or one of those types of books. Fletcher Prouty wrote a book like that, and this has been done, before. And they just keep doing the same things over and over again. But we already, and people are saying, like I said to myself when they created Homeland Security, I'm saying, well, we already got the National Security Act, and we don't know what that is exactly, except that it created these new intelligence agencies, and that the presidents can't read it. So, and people have said that it tramples the Constitution, which I now know that doesn't mean a frickin' thing to us. Where does this lend towards the occult as well? That's another thing that I would like to know.
All right, that's a good question. We're going to bring Bill back into this, and it's something that's going to be hard for a lot of people to swallow, and that's the one thing I did want to go back into. So honestly, thank you for bringing that up, Gene. And that is, Bill, here's the point. Can you go to Christians with this? Can you go to the world with this? I mean, we're dealing with something that's absolutely freaking satanic, but that doesn't fly with almost anybody.
Well, then the Christians who are what comprise the Christians and the Muslims don't believe what they read. That's simple.
They don't believe what they read?
No, because the whole New Testament talks about the devil, and it's quoted by their Messiah, and he uses the term many times, and they cast out devils, and there's talks about Satan. He was tempted by the devil. There is the same thing within, the Muslim tradition, and even the Old Testament has these, spiritual events. So,
All right, but let's go to a bigger scope, though, too. I mean, think about what this really means. I mean, we all look, Christians and otherwise, and this is what drives me nuts. We all sit there, and we hear about God and all that other stuff, and we have, and this has happened, Bill, there's been this manufactured connection between Jehovah after Christ's death and resurrection, excuse me, and government. Like, God said, okay, hey, all you guys get this. If you're really Christian, go to the United States because that's really cool. That's baloney. So now, let me just start there. I know that's an abrasive thing to say, but it's like there is no connection between secular government and the Lord, especially in the New Covenant, and yet we're dealing with all this stuff, and even Christians will admit that that's true, and yet they won't look at the satanic side of the fact of what's running this country.
Yeah, there's been very few governments that have been truly inspired by the doctrines of God. and that's an unfortunate reality. But typically it's not that way, and I think maybe originally with the founder of the colonists, they had a more Christian view, more communalistic, original Christian kind of approach to daily life. But, it certainly isn't that way anymore in this country.
Well, all right, if we could, if this is time to do that, I don't know if you want to go there or not, but you see, here's my problem. This country was the produce of an investment by the Crown, and that's what begat all these places.
Right.
Okay, I get it. Pilgrims went to, Massachusetts. I understand all that stuff, Puritans. But you know what? That really wasn't the deal. If you take a look at anything south of them, it was all about business. And so this idea about, they were all Protestants at that time, I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't care. But the thing is, the government did not act as you would expect a Christian, whatever, government to be. And that's when I get into this thing about, all right, now tell me exactly where Jehovah said this was cool. I know that's very vague and stuff, but I'm going to ask you to hit it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. I think that there is it's interesting that with the expansion of all these colonialism and everything like that, and it includes, we were once colonists, the United States.
Yeah.
But the colonists, the religious Christian colonists, also went to other countries, India, China, and there was always this, Christian thing, but they always brought business with them. And, even the same thing in this country. So I forgot what the book, I think it might be Weber's, the Protestant Work Ethic. Anyway, I can't remember the book, but there's a tie there that, it's something that's always been followed as Christian. I mean, even when the British controlled India, it was this Christian idea, but there always a financial element there.
Oh yeah.
And same with China, and so it was the same thing in this country. There was this topical thing about manifest destiny, and we want a place to be free and live be free, but there was always that fundamental economic element that we can't seem to get away from, or it's always, and it dominates everything. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate. So
I want to get back to that too, because that's really interesting. Because at one time we have a caller, so I'm going to get to them.
I got to get off this line.
Bye, Gene.
See you guys later.
See you later, bro. At one point they hang out the proselytation thing, and then of course you come with the statehood. We got a caller from Kansas. By all means, come on.
Yeah, this is Jason Glander from just outside of Wichita, Kansas. I was calling because I believe it's in the book of Zechariah. It speaks of a passage where it instructs the children of Israel, or the daughters of Israel, to separate themselves from the children of Babylon because they're spoiled by their servants. And I didn't exactly have the quote in front of me right now, but I read that, around about the time just shortly after the passage of the act that produced the $700-some-odd billion bailout that George Bush passed. And when I read it, it just linked up with me that basically that particular passage may have had something to do with that particular scripture, or that particular scripture had something to do with the particular events that were going on at that time. But if I had it in front of me, I'd quote it verbatim. But I was just going to ask, I sent you an email within the past week or so, an email with a PDF attached about how the federal government back in '67 was being charged 2 times for treasury bonds that were held by the Federal Reserve, on bonds that were actually already paid for, and I was just wondering if I could get your take on that.
No, but with all that you've said, though, because there's a wider scope with what you just, kind of entered this conversation with. What I'm asking you is, and we've spoke before, and I remember you. No, that's okay. But the point is, that's where we're driving at. And I'm not ducking any specific questions, but it's like, I guess the only way to say it is our government screwing us? Yes. Is it Christian? No. No matter who says what about, have you ever seen a president that wasn't Christian? Come on. So I don't mean to demean what you've asked, but when you get down to particulars, does it not always come out that in the end, we basically get flushed?
Most definitely. I managed to, during your question, yeah, we always get flushed. And that's what's so disheartening about everything that's going on. I remember right around just shortly after the attacks on 9/11, I was among those who were persuaded that somehow or another Osama bin Laden and the terrorist hijacker supposedly had some hand or part in 9/11, and I was all about, let's go get him. I had that mindset or mentality, and I don't know, it wasn't until about 2002, 2003 in which I came across information about a local, back when I was living in Denver, a local privately owned radio station broadcasting out of Johnstown, Colorado, that I actually came across AJ, if you will. And
it's okay. Yeah, it's fine.
I was just like, and basically that's what woke me up and everything. And it was just like, and from that point on, I've been delving into to the best of my ability, because I'm not a learned scholarly type as some may be, but I happen to coast my way through high school to the point where I dropped out before I actually obtained a diploma, but I went and got my GED. But a lot of this stuff is so, I just don't get it, because most of the people that I speak with or have spoke with in the past.
All right, let me ask you this. Do you still vote?
Oh, hell no. I actually, as a matter of fact, hell no. Hell no. As a matter, just to clarify my position, about 2007, I sent a scathing letter to the voters registration office out in Colorado, in the county that I was registered, requesting or demanding my name be removed from the voter registration rolls, because I didn't want to participate with the fraud and the scam being perpetrated against the American people. And so I don't even remember receiving a letter of acknowledgement from them.
No, you won't. No.
But I had to go down to the voter registration for the county in which I resided in and get a letter of acknowledgement supporting the fact that I actually had myself removed from the voter registration roll. So, and as a matter of fact, precedent to that, I hadn't voted in at least 2 elections preceding the point when I said I refused to actually participate in the fraud or conspiracy. So.
All right, listen, we thank you for listening, but I would ask you also, is there a pointed question you want to ask Bill? Because I know, you and I have talked before. I got no problem with that whatsoever. But for the sake of at least addressing something to Bill while he's here, because I'll be here always. He won't. Do you have anything you want to ask Bill?
No, I just wanted to speak with you and tell you I appreciate your show and everything, and I appreciate Bill for coming on. And I hope you guys continue to plow through the research that you guys are doing and inform us that are less cerebrally endowed.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, bro. Good night. Again, William, where we last left off, again, I'm telling you, this is not easy to do. You got a whole thing with Christians, and they don't get it. Because they've been tied into this thing about, and we were talking about this a bit before, and I know you were trying to get out of there real quick. My point is this. Countries, as far as I'm concerned, from what I understand from the scriptures, mercantilism is satanic. It's okay that we get involved in it. He understands. He withdrew himself because the tribes and everyone else said, we don't want divine law. Take a hike. That's a real. I know. It's
well,
real,
it's true though. I mean,
okay.
They had it set up there, the 12 tribes and everything like that, and they wanted a king. So I think when they set this country up, it was they were trying to move away from that in a more, return to that actually without a king in a more sophisticated manner. But over time, it's been corrupted.
All right, then let me ask you this. This is a tough question, and you got the time to answer it. And I think you have with your work as a whole, which isn't fair to ask you to pigeonhole it right now, but of course I will. My problem is that we have this, what I consider false construct about Christians thinking that this country, that Jesus said or Jehovah said. I mean, obviously I think this happens after Christ's appearance here. The reason I'm saying because we don't live under the law, obviously. We don't smite, the Ammonites because we don't like them.
Right.
But I mean, and I'm like, folks, hold on. You know what I mean? It's a country. I only understand Jesus as concerned with souls one by one individually. This bit about, this nation has to repent. This nation's not going to repent. There's not a nation.
Individual, yeah.
I mean, there's not a nation on the world. And let's get to Israel also. Do you think everyone in Israel is so sold out to Judaism? Are you serious?
No.
Nobody seeks after God. Let's face it. No.
Tel Aviv is run by crime families, like the mafia. It's crazy. I mean, people have this kind of notion that everybody over there is, religious on a holiday. I mean, there is a minority that's religious in the Judaism sense, but those people are very Western in many ways.
Yeah, but so here's where we go. Let's stop affixing secular things to what the Lord wanted. Now, remember something also. I think we can agree that the blurring of the lines between the state and the church was blurred by the church, who took the cheese for a 501c3 church. And I mean, if Jesus was here, I'm thinking he's like, what did I tell you about? That's not what we're about. That's the world. We don't need to do that. And I don't think that's being so rash. But then again, now take that beyond that, and here's the really great lie. If you can make Americans believe that everything they do is okay, this goes beyond nationalism in this sense. If you think you've got it spiritually backed by God, this is nationalism on steroids. I mean, this is like whatever we do, it's okay. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, this is a recipe for disaster. So here we are at a very pivotal time. People aren't liking what's going on in the country, blah, blah, blah. We're looking for someone to blame. All right, now I can hear, where I'm going with this, so I need not explain more. Go with it.
No, I don't know. I mean, the Germans had Gott mit uns, God with us, as they went over and ravaged and killed millions of people. So, I don't see a lot of difference here. I think that people can be led to believe all kinds of stuff. I don't know where that jives with the Bible, that you go kill, lie about it, killing a bunch of innocent women and children in Iraq. I don't understand that. So, I think that the people who run the country are extremely cynical and are not afraid to pervert or, misuse Christianity to further their aims, unfortunately. And I think the Christian church, and this is a general, are more than willing to go along with them without challenging them. And, they're, like in Nazi Germany, there were huge battles within the German Christian church with the Catholics and non-Catholics. I mean, everybody was fighting about what to do. And the Pope Pius was a go-along person who didn't complain about the satanic abuses of Hitler. But there were some people who actually stood up. Bonhoeffer, rescued Jews. Niemöller went to the concentration camp. And Bonhoeffer paid with his life. I mean, so, you know, I don't think that there's a lot of difference now. I'm astonished at how little, you know, the Christians see this as evil. I mean, especially the ruling elite. I mean, like I said earlier, I don't know who's worse, the evil ones or the people who go with it, you know. And I think of the line from the Bible where Christ says, you know, some of you will cast out demons in our name, but you go to heaven, and I'll say, I knew ye not, you know. So there's a tough standard there, and I can't remember that exact line in Scripture, but it's there somewhere. Yeah.
No, and again, this is honestly, this is the toughest element that we're ever going to come into. Now, for those who aren't Christian or say they're Christian or whatever, there's another whole level out there. They believe this is all on a secular level, and they usually believe in the, I guess, enduring spirit of humankind to rise above. I do not subscribe to that, and I think there's probably millennia of history to say, that's not working. But the point that I'm concerned with also is that, so here you are, I'm not going to lump you in with me necessarily, but I think we're trying to talk to people and saying, look, for Christians, understand that this has been prophesied, and get off CNN, ABC, NBC, and all this other crap, and just stop and take, all right. So let me stop right there.
Those are all just absolute controlled lies and nonsense.
Well, but you see, that's the point. And I mean, I don't like to say this stuff because it's personal, but I mean, my father-in-law, I'm sitting there, and he's all over like, what, Fox? Why? Well, what do they say they are? Fair and balanced.
Was it the most trusted name in news or most powerful name in news? Fair and balanced.
Yeah, why? Because they said so? And I looked at him, and that actually is the last conversation we've had in 2 years. I mean, no, I'm not mocking anybody, but it's like, come on, man, have a clue. I mean, did anybody...
It's a slogan. It's like it's a Nazistic, Stalinistic slogan. How can you buy that? Why? What makes it trusted? Why is it even news? I mean, it's...
Let me ask you this. Let me get your take on this. As we're going down, we got about 15 minutes left, and if folks, you want to call in now. Do it now. Here's what I want to ask you also. I'm thinking to myself, how much the powers of evil have to be absolutely kicking their heels in the air and been laughing their asses off since the inception of TV. I won't say anything more. Your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a powerful medium. It's puts you in a passive state, and it flashes, and it's incredibly powerful, and it's an incredibly powerful medium of control. And I think that there's a reason why the Chinese government wanted every person in China to have a television, to keep them pacified and easy and malleable. You know, if you watch 5 hours of TV, you're getting state propaganda and corporate propaganda. A lot of people oversee the fact that they're watching maybe 20 minutes of corporate propaganda an hour if you're watching a TV show. Hopefully you can scan through all that stuff, but you're being bored. It's a form of mind control. It's not the putting a chip in your head type, but it's they're conditioning you and doing it passively. So it's very dangerous, much more dangerous than people consider.
Crowley has come and gone, as far as we know, and you did a lot of work on him, and you extrapolated that into what has happened since, and also, most markedly, with 9/11 and the towers collapses. What I want to know from you is, Crowley may have come and gone, but that, I think, spirit does not die with him, and it continues. And just give me your take on the research you've done, and also your own spiritual belief about how that has continued from his demise, in at least in earth, in a bodily sense, and what took place on 9/11/2001.
Well, I just saw, I saw Crowley as a nexus point for all occultism. I mean, he drew on the past. He drew on all the big writers from Blavatsky and Eliphas Levi and, all these other people, the Golden Dawn, created his own system, distilled all that information, wrote voluminously, and left a repository for other people to use as a foundation to push the torch of Lucifer forward. And when he died in 47, there were other people there to pick up that torch. And one of them was Timothy Leary. The other is L. Ron Hubbard. Those are more notable. There's lesser evil lights. And clearly, the people who instituted 9/11, for me, are also carrying that torch. And, Hitler was influenced by, he knew J.F.C. Fuller, who wrote a book about Crowley. So there's really no, it's not like 7 degrees of separation. It's 2 degrees of separation from Crowley to J.F.C. Fuller, who's a notable figure in his own right, and Adolf Hitler. And they all had contempt for Christianity. So they saw themselves within that same cosmology of the New Testament and the Old Testament, which is, the simple battle between good and evil. And what's good and what's evil is maybe a question that's been taken out of our public discourse intentionally. And, so I see 9/11 as within the continuum or construct of not only a historical current that is an undercurrent that has come to the surface, but also within the context of prophecy and, biblical end times material. It is the beginning of the third millennium. And it's a time right now of transportation and communications where that ancient dream, as George W. Bush said, the ancient dream of global control is within view. And a lot of people don't know that quote from Bush. They know his quote of the New World Order, but, he did say it was part of an ancient dream, the desire for a new world order. So,
William, I'm about to rebroadcast an audio I did a long time ago. I'm saying like 04 or something like that, where I just wanted to get an audio from a lecture given by a Dean, Anne Marine Slaughter, who comes from the Woodrow Wilson School of Government in Princeton. She gave a speech at the Texas Law School at Austin. And it was amazing to listen to this, because she had written a book, right out in your face, New World Order. No problem about it. And she went out there and she popped off everything. And I think I'm going to run it because I think people should understand it, that that's the menu. Now, what happened was, and I don't know if I continued the audio, I may not have, but when they got to the Q&A, everybody, threw up softball questions, and she fielded them. But there was some guy, I had to laugh because his posture in the seat was slung back, arms over the backs of other seats, like he ain't buying this, and he asked her something, and she brushed. And then she said, well, it's only in the planning stage. Now, here's where I'm going with this. Every time you hear, or if they mean it or not, seep out, stuff that people whoa, wait a second. I always hear time and time again, well, it's only in the planning stage. Well, look, honey, you're not planning it not to do it. And that's the kind of insidious stuff that I hear. But here's where I'm going to go with you. A lot of people who have asked me, well, what are we going to do? And I just said, well, basically, okay, now, let's face it. Accept Jesus Christ as Savior. Fine. And or, look, you got to live your life. You can't beat this thing. It's too far gone. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist. And William, you're going to give me your take on it. It's do you understand what you're up against? This thing is crazy. And I'll give it over to you.
Well, yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one. Do you fight it? Do you resist it? Do you, I guess everybody has their own choice and option. I don't know. Each individual may be different, but I think that the first step is to be aware and understand the contours of the program, and then make your decision. One of the best things to do is, and that's an entreaty that is constant theme throughout the Bible, is come out of Babylon, and that is why take part in it. How great is it to be in debt and run after money and be part of the rat race? Is it really that satisfying? Some people, I've done it. It's not that, for me, not that satisfying, so why do it? How much value is it to have free time and not be stuck in a cubicle working for that money? You might be able to better off to go live on a farm, grow like a slave system or debt slavery. What's that? Hello?
William, you still with me?
Yeah, is she still here?
Yeah, Jim, we're getting a little reverb here.
Yeah, anyway, so, it's just something to be aware of and avoid.
All right, hold on. Let him clear it up. All right, give it a shot, William. All right.
Well, all I'm saying is that it's a good time to reconsider, reappraise yourself, and always be wary and watch and, come out of Babylon, I guess.
All right, William, look, thanks for being with us. I appreciate it. You look like we're having a bit of a problem, but I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
Well, and listen, thanks for being with us, and we're going to talk to you again.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Good night, William.